Jeff, always great to see you. How are you?
Great, and great to see you too.
It's been a while since you and I chatted, so I really wanted to catch up with you. Obviously, since we last spoke, I've kind of come around to a lot of your thesis, which part of mine is the exponential age. It's the amount of new technology that's really hitting all at the same time and all going exponential at the same time, and how this fits into crypto and the kind of macro world. And it's always great to chat with you about these things. What are you thinking these days? Where are you at?
Well, I think what I'd say is first is Real Vision was actually the media outlet that launched that whole book onto the scene, I would say. So I need to thank you first, because and this is something that exponential kind of movement to technology and what was happening kind of at our base layer, what was happening with information, was predicted that this was just going to accelerate, and we're on two different systems. We're on a system that we live in that is an inflationary monetary system that is trying to push prices up, and an exponentially deflationary system, really, because of technology. As things turn into information, and information wants to be free. And so we're about where from the book. It predicted kind of a bunch of these steps that are coming, but it's way bigger than most realize. I know you're there now. You're completely there now. But an entirely new financial system is going to emerge, and the existing financial system must continue to concentrate wealth, privilege, or reset. And typically, and when I say wealth privilege, it's not just wealth and privilege. It has to centralize control-making authority in the state as a result of the system. And that isn't a people problem. It's a system problem. And that's where I think a lot of people are mixed up right now, taking a side, whether it's Democrat, Republican in the US or other sides in different parts of the world. And it's not a people problem at all. It's a system problem. The existing system must try to drive inflation, or if they allow deflation, the entire system resets or is destroyed, and every financial institution, every bank, every institution in general fails as a result. But if they don't, you concentrate all power in government, and it looks like communism. And so we are predictably along that path. And if you think about rational actors in a system like this, and that's why if you tone down the rhetoric that you hear everywhere, and you think about rational actors, you're a rational actor. I'm a rational actor. At least I believe I am. And most
we all believe we are.
and rational actors, we vote with our time, and we vote with our money, and we vote to get more for less with our money constantly, right? And you'd think just in a natural world, voting more for less on a free market requires deflation, because the only reason a company could be successful is if they give you more for less. Otherwise, those companies fail. If they try to give you the opposite, they fail, right? So, but in a free market, giving more for less is deflationary. The reason we didn't see it as much before is it wasn't technology empowered. So now when you're giving more for less in a technology company, you're giving a lot more for less. And then we vote to use Google, vote to use Facebook, we vote to use Amazon, we're voting with our time to be able to use these. And a lot of the things that we're voting with don't cost anything at all today, whereas they used to cost a lot of money. So let's use photography, right? We used to vote, and we made Kodak a monopoly by voting to their entire distribution channel of selling film and everything else. And think about all the people in that distribution, film selling, editing, everything else, to be able to get a small number of photos, and then look back at those photos a week later when we went to have them developed and say, oh, I missed the photo, right? And think about that in our time, whereas today we have unlimited photos and they're essentially free. And so where does that those unlimited photos show up in a GDP measure? It's negative GDP as things turn into information and information becomes free. In a competitive environment, because we all vote with our time to get more for less, keeps pushing prices down. So that's on one axis, and that we should expect more of that. Well, if we should expect more of that, and we're all rational actors voting with our time, how can we believe that the world is aligned to that incentive structure, yet the incentive structure needs to be based on inflation, getting less for more? And in that, what you see is the entire incentive structure is a consolidation of power. Unfortunately, I wish that it removes, by doing so, you're removing individual rights and freedoms in the entire way. And as you do that, and as you remove individual rights and freedoms, what the people most hurt from that will vote to remove more individual rights and freedoms, because they don't have the money to be able to pay for the unnaturally high prices that you've created in the first place. So they go back to the same government.
And this is irrelevant of party politics as well. It happens at both extremes.
Exactly. This isn't something that can be solved through politics. And you have, by the way, there are so many debates today in the world that are 2 orders of magnitude away from the root cause of it all. The root cause of it all is what we're discussing right now. Where we are moving with technology is incompatible with an inflationary monetary system. It probably always was, but we didn't see it as fast. So you know how we'd have 80, 100-year cycles, big debt crises, and typically revolution and war and reset, or a different monetary policy where you'd say to government, essentially the winner of the war would say, we promise we won't do it this time. And then you'd go back to that and it would build up again. What's happening today is that's just being supercharged with technology, because as you try to raise prices, against the natural forces, what do you think rational actors would do? Like, I own a whole bunch of businesses, in technology businesses. Will I let my labor price keep going up, or will I try to remove labor with technology? Because if I don't remove labor with technology, my business is over. So as you're pushing unnaturally against the market, you can expect more automation. And remember, these are polar opposite forces. And again, rational actors.
Yeah, with almost unlimited capital available at almost no cost. If you try and raise the wage input, everybody's incentivized to disrupt those wages by putting technology in.
Exactly. And so this is a system problem. It's not a people problem. And a system problem can't be solved by the system that created the problem. It has to be solved from a different system. And that's when I look at technology like Bitcoin, that is a different system that allows us to reset our world in a peaceful path rather than a destructive path.
But the problem is, have you, by the way, read, I'm just reading it now, the Great Reckoning, the new book by, it's like Victor, it's exactly down this whole path, Victor Svet something. He's like from Macquarie. It's an amazing book. I will send you the full link, and I'll put the link in the notes here as well, because it's incredible. It's basically around this and how, exactly as you're saying, that we will end up with concentrated power first. And it's going to tear the fabric of society because it's swinging between left and right, and people who embrace technology and people who fear technology. All of this has to happen before we eventually get to the next fear. And what you're suggesting is that we can't change this, the dynamics of this, until we end up adopting this new digital currency regime.
Yeah, so you know how long I've been studying this, and the book was out of a, why can't people put this piece together to see that it's a different system? And so I'm at the forefront of a whole bunch of technology companies. You have technology companies on one side believing that they're going to be trillion and $2 trillion and $10 trillion entities as they drive artificial intelligence and robotics into the business. And when you think about, okay, if artificial intelligence is going to be at some point in time, it doesn't matter if it's tomorrow or 10 years from now or 20 years from now, a path to be smarter than us. And it will remove labor the entire way along that path. So, but people, because of their fear, think about it as a light switch moment. We either, and you can see this in investing all the time. They dismiss what's happening, the trend, because they think about it as a light switch moment. Well, that light switch. So when you do this, you're just concentrating more and more power into the monopolies that have that. And then a whole bunch of people think that it's the monopoly. They created the problem. The monopoly is just a rational actor doing what they need to survive in a business, because if they don't do it, another company will do it. And so you have more regulation.
Yeah, these are not state-granted monopolies. These are free market monopolies.
Well, it's interesting. They're kind of free market. They're state-granted monopolies because if you essentially manipulate the base layer of currency, you manipulate every other economic calculation as a result. And so they become almost state-granted monopolies because you're destroying the base layer of currencies. And so who goes to fix it? And because the population demands that it creates a huge us versus them in the population. And because there's more of everyone else left out of that economic calculation, that it was really as a result of printing more money, you have a whole bunch of people voting in a new government to break them up. So the easiest way to look at it is when you have manipulation in money, you have manipulation everywhere else. But because people don't see that, they don't see that economic calculation. They're living in a world that it is a bizarro world, right? Nobody asks. Everyone thinks housing always goes up, while failing to ask, would housing go up if I didn't print or I didn't juice a market by 100?
Yeah. Is it going up, or is the denominator going down, which is my point?
Yeah, $185 trillion of additional stimulus went into the global housing market or global market in the last 20 years. And so the question only comes, can that continue?
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to like and subscribe for more crypto-related content. Also, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto.